Greetings once again. We meet to go further with our learnings. The topic that we will be doing in our demonstration, which we are going to be indulging in, is working with XML files. So, our software does support working with XML content, and that is precisely what I would now be showcasing for the sake of our benefit. So XML, as you can see, one of the last commands that we have over here inside our command set, and inside XML, I can see that I've got a whole list of commands, and we will be working through the same over here, and that is the whole idea behind this demonstration. So, for the sake of this demonstration, I have with me two XML documents. The first being abc.xml, so I can just open this abc.xml in the Internet Explorer, and you can see that is what it looks like, my abc.xml. The other document, if I can just go and edit it inside Notepad, I can see it contains some numbers which we want to quickly run through, and that is basically our priority over here. So we'll be using these two documents for the demonstration at hand, working with XML. That is the priority. So to that effect, first and foremost, we have to go and make a connection to the XML document. So I'm going to drag the start XML session to the right. I am going to go and point to that XML document. So C drive folder, I go to XML, and we'll pick up the first document over here. So we are pointing to the first document, abc.xml, which we have opened in IE also, and I can go and save it. So that opens my document. Next, what we want to do is we would like to first and foremost validate this XML document, that whether or not this XML document is complete and proper in all aspects. And there are a couple of ways of doing so, as most of us would already be aware of. One method is by using the XML schema document. So the XML schema document is an external document through which we can validate an XML document. We can use this one if we have the XSD available. The second is by using an internal document type declaration, which is existent within the XML document if it indeed exists. And last but not the least, in the absence of both these other options, what we will also be doing is seeing whether it's a well-formed document or not, as in for every opening node there's a matching closing node, there's a proper nesting of nodes and things like that. And if all these things are proper, it will return an output of valid, which we will be able to capture inside our prompt assignment variable. So that is basically the objective over here, and we are going to go and save it. So once we have got the output that whether it is a valid document or not, we can message box and throw this value on the screen. So I'm going to message box and say let's display the value of prompt assignment on the screen so that we know whether it's a valid document or invalid document. And last but not the least, we would like to go and close this session, because like I had requested earlier also, wherever you have an option of opening and closing a file stream which is specifically separately given, then we must do that so as to avoid any unnecessary open connections or overheads lying around, which could only lead to more complications. So once I have done this part of the job, I am good to go and save this script, and we will give it a name as XML. So XML, extensible markup language, format which is very widely used today, whether we talk about our .NET datasets, or whether I talk about MySQL or Oracle databases, which are currently supporting XML as a data type. So it's a very, very widely used format, like I said, for data transfer. So now that we have this small script ready, which currently is about validating this XML document and letting us know whether it's valid or not. So we can proceed to go and execute with this. So we're going and running it, and we can see it returns to me that this is a valid document, and this is just what we wanted. So we are good to work with this document. It's a valid document. In case it was not a valid document, then we will have to first go and maybe get the document back from its source or wherever we procured it, because if the document is not properly structured or properly formed, it may affect the ability of our software also to work with it. So our software cannot make those amendments. Those amendments have to be in place when we procure this document. Of course, you can add nodes, update nodes, delete nodes using our software, but then that becomes a very big effort if the document in the first case is not in a proper format. So the basic ground requirement is the document should be proper, well made, and if it is not so, if it returns an invalid response over here, then we need to procure or create that document again, depending on how we got it in the first case. So once it is validated, it means we are good to go ahead and start using this document further. Now, first and foremost, what we would like to do is we would like to go and fetch a value from this document. Let's say I want to fetch the value of this IP node from this XML document. So how can we do that? So to fetch the value of a node from an XML document, we have the command called getNode, and which is a node that you wish to get. So to point to a particular node within an XML document, we should be aware of the XPath expression, which allows us to go and point to that particular node and work with it. So that becomes a prerequisite over here, which we should be able to adhere to. So generating the XPath expression for the element or node which we are interested in is our part of the job. So since I want to get the IP node over here, so I will give the XPath expression for the same as in IP, and it will fetch the value of that node, put that value inside this variable prompt assignment, and then I can just message box this value on the screen, and we can see that value bumping off the screen. I'm currently writing the value on the screen. If you wished, you could have written that value somewhere else. So you can see the value has been successfully picked up and is being broadcasted on the screen. 2754 something something, you can see the value has been successfully thrown on the screen, and that is just what we were looking forward to. So we were able to get the value of an XML node from a document and showcase that value on the screen, fetch the value from an XML document and throw it on the screen. One part of the job is done, and before that you saw that we did validate the document to ascertain that it is indeed proper in all aspects. Next thing what we want to do is we want to update this document. So let's say if I look at this particular document, this document basically contains an IP node over here. Now this IP node, it's basically my IP address. So this IP address may vary. Let's say tomorrow my IP address changes, then we should be able to reflect that change within this document. So basically what we are saying is we want to update the value of this node. We want to do that change. So to do that, we have this command update node, and we will say that in the IP node we want to give a new value 1.2.3.4. So this is the new value that we want to assign to this particular IP node. That is basically what is our objective, and we can go and save it. So the node gets updated, but in case you want the data, whatever changes you made should be persisted, should be saved somewhere, maybe as a separate XML document, then you have to save the session data. Otherwise whatever is updated will get lost, and next time when you run this XML file it will still show you the old value. So if you want the value should be permanently changed, then you have to use the save session data command. So I'm dragging the save session data, and we are saying let's assign this value to some variable xyz. Write XML data. So where do you want the updated XML document to be stored? So we will try to keep it inside the same location where we had the original document. So there it goes. We'll give it a name as updated.xml, and we're going to go and save it. Save the script from the top, and we can go and run this one. So once we go and run it, it will go and create an updated document. So now if I go and open this updated document, notice that the value of the node is currently 1234. So original value of the document which we had gone and showcased was 27 something something something, and after updation the value has changed to 1234. So we were effectively able to update the value of this node within the XML document in perspective. That is precisely what we wanted. So I can go and disable these two lines also. Next, now that we have been able to update a node, let's also look at the possibility that where we may want to delete a node altogether. So we went, created a node, fetched the value of a node, then we updated the node to a new value, and now we want to remove this node altogether. That's what we want to do. So to do that, I am going to call my delete node command. So I say delete node. Which is the node that you wish to delete? That is the IP node. So you want to go and get rid of the IP node. That is basically what we are looking at. So I say delete this node lying at this location. Again, to save this data, persist this data so that the changes that we are making are going to be stored in permanently. We will have to save the session data. So I'm going to drag the save session data command, and I'm going to put it after this delete node. So we put it somewhere over here, and I say write the XML data into some location of our preference, which is going to be deleted.xml. Notice the override file command following it. This is again for the purpose that should you foresee the possibility that you might be running this command again and the file deleted.xml may already exist, then it may throw an error. So to prevent that possibility of an anomaly, we can choose override file. So I'm going to currently go and save this. I'm going to save from the top, and we can go and run it. It's gone and done that also. Let's go check. Deleted.xml. Let's open it with Internet Explorer, and we can see the node altogether vanishes. So this was the original document. We updated it to this, and the new document does not have any new document deleted.xml does not have any XML, does not have any IP node. So this was just what we wanted: original value, then updated value, and then the value of the node altogether removed. So that was something which we just saw with respect to XML. So I am going to go and comment all this. So let me just go and select all these things and disable it. Disabled. Now we will go and start playing with the second document, which is sum.xml. It contains some nodes with numeric data which we will put to good use. So for that, what we will do is we will go and again initiate a new start XML session command, because it's a second file, a new file, so I have to create a separate session for it. Like we discussed, every file stream is a separate session. So I'm saying start XML session, and we are going and pointing to the second file now, which is sum.xml, pointing to sum.xml. So this will go and start pointing to the second document at hand. Now notice I kept the session name as default only. Let me do it again for you. Notice that the session name of the first script is default, and also it is commented. But if I go and point to another document, maybe I'll point to the actual document, and let's say let the session name be the same. Then let's see what happens. Kindly note that the previous start XML session command is commented, actually disabled to be more precise. The session names are same, but the previous line is disabled. It is pointing to a different file, and this is pointing to a different file. But however, both of them are pointing to the same surface as in XML. So now if I go and try to save it, it says session name is already assigned. Enter another session name. Moral of this story is, two commands of the same type within the same script cannot have the same session name, even if one of the instances is commented or disabled, as you can see. Why is this so? Let's go and look at this command update node. If you have a look at this command, nowhere in this command is it mentioned that which is the file that we are going to be working with. The only way that this particular command knows that which file it is supposed to be working with is the session name. The session name is default over here, and the same was given over here also as default. So this session name is bound to this file. So if you have the same session name getting bounded to different XML files, then it will create an ambiguity. The software will not know that which command to edit or which file to work with when a particular instance of this particular command is called, because the only way it knows which file it is working with is using this session name, which is specific to a particular file instance. So that is why two commands of the same type within the same script cannot have the same session name. It will create an issue. So that's the learning we got from that interaction that we just had. So start XML session, point to sum.xml, so point to sum.xml, and this time it give a session name as default 2, so that there is no issue, and we save it. This time, as you can see, it opens because we deliberately went and changed the session name to something else. So we have created a new session name, and first thing first, what we want to do is we want to do a quick math. We want to find the sum of all these nodes of type A and find out what is the value of the sum of all the nodes of type A. It's all numeric. So 10 plus 12 is 22, plus 30 is 52, plus 20 is 72. So it should show me 72 if I put everything in order. So I'm going to say sum all the nodes of type A, put them in the prompt assignment variable, and then you can display this value on the screen. And then, as we had started the previous session, we will go and end it also. Whatever, like I said, we start, we should close. So we save it. And here it is saying start XML session, and then it is trying to find the sum of all the nodes of type A and displaying the values on the screen. So let's go and see whether we are able to get the desired output or not. So a right click, run from line number 11, run from this step, and voila, it gives us 72, which is like what? 10 plus 12, 22 plus 50, 72, and that is just what we wanted. So far, so good. So we were successfully able to pick up all the values of a particular type as in matching node A from an XML document, put those values, add those values together, and display the values in a message box. That was our an exercise that we did courtesy our XPath function commands, which allow us to go and do the same. This is what was needed. Next thing what you want to do is you want to pick up all these nodes one by one and iterate over them. First bump 10 on the screen, then 12, then 30, then 20. Can we do that? Is it possible for us to pick up all these values and keep bumping these values on the screen? Can we try doing that? So let's see if we can do that. So to do that, what we will do is we will go and on the screen. So we're just going to so we've already started the session. We already found the XPath function, and now we want to say get nodes because we want to pick up all the values of the nodes one by one and display the values on the screen. So this time not a single node but multiple nodes need to be fetched. Which nodes need to be fetched? We need to pick up nodes of type A. So the nodes we want to pick up is nodes of type A, which is reflected by this XPath expression that I've just given on my terminal. You want to pick up the text value over here for all the nodes of type A, and then we will again go into a loop because since we need to go through a couple of values within an XML document, we have a loop, each node an XML dataset which we will use, and also we will go and within the start loop and end loop we will go and display the value of the node in perspective. So let's go and do that also. The message box, and I put this message box over here. So which is the node whose values needs to be displayed? So it's XML data node variable. Value to be displayed is 1, and we save it, and then I can proceed to save the script and take it for a spin, and let's see what happens. So if all goes well, one silly error on my part. The reason being, as you can see, start loop I've given session name as default. Default is already commented, so it has to be default 2. So I'll just quickly make that correction, and we save it, and I can save it once more, and let's go and run it from this step. So that's the value of the first element, which you can see bumping off the screen within this loop: 10, 12, 30, and 20. So we have been able to pick up all the values out of these elements one by one, and we have been able to throw these values on the screen. That is just what we wanted: 10, 12, 30, and then last but not the least 20. So this is just what we were looking for. So as you can see, we showcased how we can work with XML documents, how we can validate them, how we can fetch the value of a single node, how we can update nodes, delete nodes, how we can do some math on XPath on XML nodes, how we can iterate through XML nodes within an XML document. So that was just to give us an idea about the capability of our software to work with the XML document type. I do hope we are all good and comfortable till this point. And until next time, thank you so much.